there's a lot of Jedi artifacts and stuff that he has. Like
how do you know Jedi artifacts? How does anyone know Jedi artifacts?
From people are nerds, Brennan. It's a thing.
People are nerds.
There's like a
when
Jedi.
You are nerdy. But yeah, it's just the bug finally got me.
Yeah,
the bug finally got me. So
this was your first time. Yeah.
You never forget your first, Chad. But I kicked its ass. The thing I should say, and I want the people to hear this, so include this. This is a statement I need to make for all of our listeners. You've known me a long time, Chad, right? A long, long time. Have you ever known me to take Dookie from anybody?
Mm-mm.
I don't take Dookie.
No.
Even if it's presented very nicely and they're like, would you care for some Dookie, sir? I'm very polite myself, so I say, no, thank you, I'm good on Dookie. So COVID came along and it was like, would you care for some Dookie? This time I wasn't as nice. I smacked it out of their hands and said, no Dookie. So that was my COVID experience, is me basically saying no Dookie. There was an intense couple of days where I was taking some Dookie and then I said no more. And I credit, and I think you'll appreciate this, I credit science. Science helped me a lot. I was vaccinated and boosted, which I know has to have greatly reduced the time I would have had anyway, and the experience, because our good friend Jerry caught it pre-vaccinations and all that stuff. So that poor bastard, he really went through it. And I feel guilty almost that I had COVID for a week. So I credit science with the vaccinations and, of course, the antivirals, the Paxlovid, man. It's still free, though I, of course, had to pay for a clinic visit. But and then, it just like a couple of days. And cool. I feel like I just got over a cold right now. So, again, that's pretty impressive. Yay, science.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I didn't take no Dookie. I said, no, thank you.
That's good. Yeah, I like Jerry. I got it once before.
Oh, you did?
Vaccines, yeah. And it did indeed suck.
How long did this go?
About 3 weeks.
Shit.
And it was, the worst part of it in the long term was this fever that, it wasn't even that bad of a fever. It was like technically it was like a low grade fever, but it made me feel awful.
Yeah,
and it just would not go away. I would get it to go away for brief periods of time. Like I'd take Tylenol and I would feel all right for a few hours, but then it would always come back.
Yeah. Did your symptoms kind of do
very much so, yeah.
Even in my short period, it was exactly the same, because day one was awful. Was literally the fever, the aches. I was just like, what it was like a truck hit me. Mm-hmm. Day two was me being kind of cocky going, oh, that the fever's gone and the aches are, it's no big deal. A little Tylenol, I'm all right. A little coughing, I'm fine. And then day three, I was like, oh, I can't taste or smell anything, and the fever's back. I hate my life. And then I became, very briefly, James Vanderbeek from Varsity Blues. I said, I don't want your life.
I haven't seen that one.
That quote is just infamous, just because fine young actor of the day, and certainly Dawson's Creek was at the top, but him playing a Texan and then him delivering that line of dialogue, I don't want your life. Hilarious. So it was right up there with me denying the Dookie. So I just was like, that's when I said I got to do the clinic. I got to get some kind of stuff.
I'm glad you did that.
Yeah. Did you have the loss of taste and smell?
I've had it twice. The first time, surprisingly, no. All as bad as it was overall, I didn't experience that the first time. I had it again this past summer. This is obviously with the vaccine and 2 boosters. This time, it was like it sucked like the first day or two, and then it only lasted. It only lasted about 4 days, I think.
Oh, that's good.
The second time, but I did lose my sense of taste partially the second time, and I didn't really notice it until it was like just one morning. It was, I think it was it was like the week after I had it. I was having my coffee one morning. I was like, what the hell's wrong with this thing? Like,
that's so weird.
It's like it tasted like crap. It's like, what did I do wrong? It did it the same way.
I heated up something in the microwave, and then I was like, when it dinged, it was like, normally I would smell that.
Yeah.
And then I started eating and going, well, I can tell it's hot. That's it. Just mush. So that was not fun. Jerry didn't get that for all the, but I mean, the stuff he went through, and he still has long COVID. So he continues to deal with it.
Oh, geez.
I count myself lucky. So yeah, he gets the brain fog thing, which I didn't, which I'm very glad for. It was mainly fatigue and the cough. But I'm used to bronchitis. I get that a lot. This has become old guys talk about their illnesses. But I mean, COVID actually is so common now. Most of the people listening to this are probably going, yeah, that was my experience. I had it.
Yeah.
It's getting rarer and rarer. Was I feeling cocky for a while? Yeah, because I'd gone so long. Everyone in my family had caught it, and I was the only one who hadn't. And then suddenly I'm like, oh, okay. Well, it was just waiting. It was just waiting.
Yeah.
That's all right. But I'm back, and I basically the antivirals got me there. But you know what else helped? Indiana Jones 5 trailer.
And you hadn't seen it when I sent it to you?
I wait, had I? No, I'd seen stills from it, and it was your link was first link. So when I watched it, I was like, that's good. Dial of Destiny. I mean, I have no idea what the story even is. I don't care. It just looks great. Sala narrating it. Are you kidding me? Come on.
Yeah.
Old Sala, it's like, don't you miss the adventure? I'm like, yeah, I do, man. And I'm raising my hand, and I'm in my apartment, and was like going, please put your hand down. I'm like, shut up, voices in my head, because I love this. And even him looking crazy old, there were a couple of parts where he's just standing there, and I'm like, the stance is still there. It's like you're an old dude, but that is the body language of Indy. And I was like, because he's in that white t-shirt, and I'm like, that's a 85-year-old man. But an 85-year-old man I would not fuck with, because that's Indiana motherfucking Jones. Yeah. And I'm sorry for the language. I'm sorry, listeners. It got me excited. What about you?
Oh, I loved it. Yeah. And I was totally caught me by surprise, because I didn't know if there was any rumors leading up to its release.
Well, they had done that Empire Magazine spread, and that was the most we had seen already of pictures and stuff. I figured a trailer had to be coming soon.
Yeah. But it was still a great surprise. I think I sent it to like seconds after I watched it. I sent it to Brendan.
He's like, yeah, need
check it out.
Yeah. What did Brendan say? Did he like it? No, it was literally kind of balm for the soul. Could it still stink? Sure. I've been fooled by trailers before. I just trust these people. And do I love Phoebe Waller-Bridge? I love her. I love her so much. If we never see her again, like, who knows if her character is going to be amazing, and her as the protege, and maybe they never do spinoffs. I don't care. I just love her, and the idea that she will be playing a protege of Indiana Jones, I'm all about.
Is she supposed to be like the daughter of Brody in this one?
I don't know if she's. I don't know if there's a relation. They just say that she's like his goddaughter. That does seem like it would be Brody. Right. Yeah. But I don't know if that has been confirmed or not. But I'll take it. Yeah. I guess Mutt's off doing whatever Mutt's doing. Yeah. So maybe much they for do that. Maybe they do a. If she does her own series, which is smart. Like, let's not. It's not her being Indy. It's just her having adventures in the 60s, or actually probably early 70s, because this is set in 69. Fuck, man. Indiana Jones is kicking ass the year I'm born. Get out. Right. But anyway, so early 70s, I'm all about that. And then she can have her own world. But what if Mutt bumps into her at some point? Like, that would be like a side thing. Or Short Round. Now that, it's like, everyone's like, oh my God, he's still amazing. And he's totally game. Bring him in, man.
That. Yeah. I would bring him in. So much. But they gotta bring, I mean, I know Harrison might be done with us. That's he keeps saying that. But I want to see those two together on the screen, even if it's just one scene,
Oh, of course.
Because they're there may be more movies that aren't focused on Indy, but there are rumors now about a Disney Plus series.
Well, what if that is the route they take? But what if there's one scene where she, in the course of one of her adventures, goes to see him and there's already a car in the drive, goes in, and there's Short Round sitting with him. I mean, you could do something that easily, and him going like, I told you about this guy, right? He was a good kid. And then that's it. I mean, that's all you need. And whether or not he joins her on an adventure, which would be cool. I love the type of adventure story that the indie movies are. I love indie specifically, but I love pulp adventure. I have no problem with them as long as it's not like, here's my hat, here's my whip. You're now Indiana Jones. Let Indiana Jones go the way of his greatness and let him have this twilight of, well, we already saw Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. We know that he just wanders around town going, did I tell you about the time I met his mother? Let him do that. But I have no problem with a new character coming in, just like I have no problem with him ever spinning off Bond. Because when I watched the last Daniel Craig one, I was like, the new 007, that lady is awesome. And also what's her name? De Armas.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember her first name.
Yeah, what her number was, or what her agent
I don't remember
was.
what her number was, but her scene with him, and she's like this other spy lady, and she's great. Their scene was great. I was like, I'd watch a movie with her. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That whole. I mean, I love the movie with that Bond. What was it called? The last Bond movie?
No Time to. Is it No Time to Die?
Isn't it? Yeah. I hadn't heard a lot about it. It just seemed to kind of come and go without much.
Well, it had been delayed for so long. That was one of the big problems. Thanks to COVID, it had literally been on the shelf for like a year and a half by the time it came out.
And of course, I know it ticked some people off because the ending was unusually dramatic for a James Bond film.
They had the balls to actually kill the main character and say that we just saw Daniel Craig's James Bond, and it had an ending. Yeah. First time the Bond series has ever done that. So it's like, that's pretty awesome. But
yeah, I thought it was great. And
Bond is evergreen. You just recast and you keep going.
Right. But that whole action sequence with Anna de Armas' character was just, it felt so classic Bond. Their chemistry too.
And they had chemistry, and there was a little bit of humor in it because she was good, but at the same time there was like the sort of chaotic, like, whoops,
yeah.
And of course her kicking ass in an evening gown where you're like, gee, I think it's just Anna de Armas. There you go. I think it's just Anna. But anyway, I was like, yeah, this all works. So I'm not one of those basement dwellers that sits there going, no, when Harrison Ford stops, Indiana Jones stops. I agree, Indiana Jones stops, but that world can continue.
Oh, yeah.
There can be all kinds of crazy pulp adventures with people that knew him, knew of him, were inspired by him, whatever it is. You can keep going.
So I'm going to just bring this up, and if you don't want to talk about it, I understand, because this was an old precious idea of yours. Which I thought was wonderful at the time. Well, I can't remember if you actually wrote the script, because I remember it was one of those ideas you had that we spent many long conversations at House of Eyes.
My grandson of Indy idea.
Yeah.
I got, and this for our listeners, I didn't create fan fiction by any means, but Lord knows, before that term existed, I was the guy who did waste valuable energy writing scripts of things that I knew I didn't have the rights to, that would never happen. I wrote a Green Lantern script, which I still think is better than the thing that ended up on the screen.
It is.
Like in 1989, way before, well, no, probably 90, but way before the superhero renaissance thing, the movies. But anyway, regardless, I did have, I wrote about 80 pages of, almost finished it. Geronimo Jones and the Unholy Knights.
That's right.
And Geronimo Jones was a very nerdy-ish grandson of Indy. And he gets involved with the Templars. The Knights Templar are now this secret organization in the modern day, which of course was the 90s when I was writing this. And the whole idea was tied into the actual real life mystery of Rennes-le-Château in France, which is a very cryptic cathedral with all these hidden messages in it. And so I was basing it on a real thing, and having Indy's grandson be capable like Indy, but in a very clumsy way. The idea was that he had trained just as a kid in various things like horseback riding and even fencing and things like that, but he never was really an active guy and was very bookish and nerdy. And he gets caught up in an adventure, and he got his nickname because he studied with Native Americans, and they had called him Geronimo as a gag, and so that's where his nickname came from. He ends up with the hat, his grandfather's hat. That's one thing that is in common. And one of my favorite bits in it was the ending, which was after the adventure is over.
Yes.
Like a FedEx guy shows up at his apartment, Brownstone in New York, and is like, yeah, they were cleaning out some government warehouses. This was connected to your family name. So we traced it to you because your grandfather's dead, but I don't know, it's yours to keep or not. And they drop off this crate, and he opens it up.
It's the Ark,
and it's the Ark of the Covenant that just got forgotten about. And his girlfriend character from throughout the movie goes, what is that? He just turns out and goes, coffee table. And the idea would be, if there was ever a sequel, is that the Ark of the Covenant would be a constant feature of his apartment with a glass top, that it would actually have then been turned into a coffee table. I love that idea of like, wow, that is an extremely powerful thing. Yeah, but he is just putting coffee mugs and things on top.
And that, so this, bear in mind, people, that this was 1991, 92.
Yeah, this is a long time.
He came up with this before the post-credit scene was a thing, as it is now. So because I don't know if you intended it as literally post-credits.
Well, no,
it's essentially the character.
Last scene of the movie, yeah. It wasn't in my head. The idea to put a scene somewhere in the credits, that was not even a thing back then.
Right.
So.
But
yeah, I did kind of include it like that thing of like, and the movie it would not have constantly been dredging up Indy stuff. He was having his own adventure. He had his own personality. He was not as cocky. He was a nerd and would trip a lot, but he would always kind of come out on top. The whole idea was just to keep that type of adventure story with its mythic and kind of folkloric background and pulpy, but just move it to the present day, because I was like, there's no reason, even if Harrison Ford's gotten too old, that the Indiana Jones verse has to stop. Mm-hmm. I don't believe in recasting, because that's a gamble, and it sometimes pays off. Still amazed about Abrams' Star Trek. It's like, that actually kind of worked.
Yeah.
And Solo, I don't put the failure of Solo on the shoulders of that young actor. He did a good enough job. I thought, man, that the deck is stacked against that poor motherfucker.
Yeah,
but the movie was entertaining. I mean, I found it entertaining. It was okay. I'd watch a second one.
Yeah, I was going to bring this up when we were talking about Phoebe Waller-Bridge, because she did, I forget her character's name, the droid that she plays in that movie.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember the name of the droid either, but
anyway,
funny bit.
My only quibbles with that film were kind of the same things that I disliked about Rogue One, were just the unnecessary fan service that they would go to. There was more of it in Solo than there was in
there
Rogue
was.
One.
I kept going, this can be strong enough on its own. And one of the main things that pissed me off in Solo was the idea of the last name.
Yes.
I was like, Solo to us, in English, Solo, we know what Solo means. I don't like it meaning the same thing in gobbledygook Star Wars universe language. We're pretending that they're speaking, it's like, but the idea that he's like going Solo as in alone, I'm like, no, the best thing about those names is that they don't really literally mean what we're thinking they mean.
And plus, in the context of the story too, there was really no thrust for that moment, because he's not before that going, gee, if only
also
I had
in the
last
prequels
name.
When you have Christopher Lee go in and go, I'm Count Dooku. The thing that Brendan doesn't take. He don't take no Dooku.
I always think of Ewan McGregor's line in that when he's floating in that cell thing. He says, "I'll never join you, Dooku." Dooku.
I just no one had the balls to go up to George and go, look, man.
Hey, about the name.
You're really doing some great world building. There's some great story stuff here. Can we change that name?
Yeah.
Just that one name. You realize no kid And most adults will not be able to hear that without giggling. All right? That's all I'm saying. And you have the great Christopher Lee, who brings it at age 94 or whatever. It's like, you don't have him come out there and go, please take seriously my character.
Lord
Count Dooku.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Sorry, I distracted you. We were talking about your problem with the whole thing with the fan service.
What else? Some of the stuff was just a little bit too on the nose too, which was kind of fan service. Like they say, well, because the rebel character, whose name I can't remember, the actress with the freckles, we see her a lot now, and she's really taking off. She's in Willow. I just watched the first couple of episodes of Willow and really enjoyed it. But she says, so we could really use somebody like you, and he's like, nah. So maybe someday you'll change your mind. Hint, hint. Like, oh, stop.
Maybe someday you'll end up, a rebel.
It was just
a princess.
Stuff like that was way too much. But I loved Lando. I'm trying to remember his name.
Donald Glover.
Donald Glover was perfectly cast in that role, and I love seeing the earlier version of the Millennium Falcon that just got beat to hell throughout the course of the film.
I mean, the only problem I had with that too was I liked the idea that it got some of the damage that we're used to in that race, but it looked like literally it was that one thing.
Mission, right? There was.
I mean, I like the idea that it was a shipping ship, so that middle section that we're always used to not being there was actually like crate, was where all the stuff gets stored. And it breaking off, so it takes the classic Millennium Falcon shape. Perfect. That's all we need. But at the end of it, it crashes and it's like, man, it's really banged up. Will it never get more dings over the next several years?
Well, he actually had to fix it up from where it was there, because it's basically falling, like when they arrive. True. It's like pretty much just falling apart.
It had the different kind of radar dish or something on top too.
Yeah, the square one.
There are things I really liked. I mean, bottom line, you get to see the beginning of the life debt with Chewie, and that's all. That's why I'm there.
I like a lot of stuff. I like being able to see, seeing Kessel finally. That was fun.
Yeah, of course. The spice mines. I don't want to end up in the spice mines of Kessel. Do you?
No.
They made it very effectively unappealing. I was like, okay.
I'd rather be smashed into who knows what. Sorry. I don't know what to do all this stuff in my brain. It's got to come out. So anyway, should we talk about Wakanda Forever first, or move on into Andor?
Man, they're both so big. I don't know, man. I mean, we're on a Star Wars thing. Do you want to just wrap up Andor?
Yeah, let's do Andor.
It was great.
All right. See you next week. Yeah. It was absolutely fantastic.
I will say there's hardly much you can say about it, other than I remember this is only like a couple weeks ago. I remember in the pre-COVID days when I was young and spry, and I could taste like the wind. I'm back to tasting, by the way, and I had a frozen pizza the other day. I was like, frozen pizza is nothing really to celebrate, but I was like, I've missed you, my old friend. but Andor, when it first ended, like I was like immediately online with Jerry and John, and I was like, did they know they were getting a second season? They have to have, because there's no way you choose to end your series that way unless you know you're coming back. I'd be like, no one will ever be happy again, because all of this is set up for it's a literal tease. It's a cliffhanger.
Oh yeah. And I love that. I love the way they ended it to that moment where you know that Luthen is not going to kill Andor, but he just gives that little smile, like, "You got me." Yeah. And then it ends, and we don't see the actual conversation that follows that, and we probably won't. But when we pick up season 2, they're probably in the middle of a mission already, having worked together for a while again. And I love that. There's so many. Almost every episode had an ending like that. We're like, and scene. Like, oh, they're going to end it. Yep, there it goes. Damn it. But it was so good.
You know where it's coming. And I will say they did a good job. I know it's mainly overseen by one guy, but generally speaking, all the writers did a good job of picking your moment for the big speeches, the big monologues, every one of the big monologues, especially over the last few episodes, were so well placed, so well written, all in character. So in other words, it wasn't just we have to put someone saying this in here. All the monologues fit the character that, it's like the scene where it's like, how much do you have to sacrifice? And Saw Gerrera's big monologue. Just everyone. And of course, I forgot her name, but Cassian's mom's funeral.
Marva.
Yeah, her big monologue. I mean, just chills. And you're like going, you're picking all the right places. If it was too much of that, if every episode was like someone's going to come in and talk about what it means to rebel or what it means to comply with and be complicit in an empire, it's like, no. They picked their moments and they all worked. They knocked them all out of the park. Plus, every actor in that fucking show, every actor.
Stop. Yeah.
Jesus.
Incredible. That monologue that Luthen gives, Stellan Skarsgård's monologue, that whole scene too, where he's meeting the ISB operative that he's been working with.
Yeah.
It's so, and I watched it again because my mom was been watching this as well. And she had missed that scene. I think maybe she got distracted by something else. So she had said, what? So you got to see the scene. So we went back and watched that. It was, at the very end of the episode. So it was the episode where they finally escaped the prison.
Right.
So I think she saw that and thought the episode was over and she just walked away.
Surely that's it.
So yeah. And, but when I first saw it, I was kind of stunned at how dense and deep that monologue went. And at first I was thinking, oh, this is too much. Like I thought it was like, this is so wordy. It's like Shakespeare.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, I share my dreams with ghosts and a lot of really great lines all packed into this one little speech. And I was like, I don't know. But then when I watched it again, I was like, this is so good. This is so good.
I mean, there's a little bit where, especially if you're doing a show with a point, with a message, just like if you were doing a movie with a message or a play, there you do, as a screenwriter, says me, the balance between being natural and making it sound the way people would normally speak is a constant, that's a goal. But at the same time, every now and then, and it is all about picking the moment, you sometimes have to underline, and sometimes you really do need to heighten the reality to where someone can suddenly be extremely well spoken to a maybe unrealistic degree, almost poetic, because what you're trying to do is like, without necessarily having someone walk into a spotlight, it's like in Charlie Brown Christmas, like, I think I do Charlie Brown. And then you do a whole little monologue right there with a blue spot. But the thing is that it is a thing where you are trying to elevate a scene and give the character that spotlight scene. And if it works, you get something like this that doesn't feel unnatural, but it is a showcase. And it almost is like, Stellan, you're good in everything you've ever been in. You have been. So here's your Emmy. It's like, I'm giving you your Emmy scene. And he's like, okay, great. I'll do fine by it. And it happens in every really good show. You watch Succession and then you like go, this is a really well-written show. And then you'll get to a scene. You're like going, God, that was just the writers going, here you are, served up on a platter. Here is your Emmy. It's like, I'm just giving you your scene. And that sounds coldly manipulative, but it's just so well done in Andor. And the fact that you're getting writing of that quality in a Star Wars show.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't degrade something by saying it's a Star Wars show, but you rarely see genre of any kind try to, because even Game of Thrones, which had a lot of critical acclaim, it had some really great dialogue, but it never really tried to go for Shakespeare. It never really tried to go for like, here is... Occasionally they would give Tyrion something amazing to say. And you're like, that's going on a t-shirt. But most of the time it was just brutal or ruthless kind of dialogue. That was poetry, man. I loved it.
Yeah.
And the end of the fucking series, did you see that? I saw one critic who actually said, the final button scene of Andor season 1 ruined the entire premise of the whole series. And I read this thing, I don't know, AV Club maybe or something like that. But I was like, or Blender. I was like, you guys are idiots.
Did you
They were
not?
basically saying that the series was trying to establish itself away from classic Star Wars iconography. That it's happening while all that stuff is going on, but it's separate. And I'm like going, no, man, it is the perfect bleak irony that the stuff they were working on, they were building that thing, and that thing is still scenes like that actually, I think, boost what we think of as like the Death Star, because it's just saying like the Empire is going to this level of creating a thing that will destroy worlds, and that is how they will keep their iron grip, which makes what Luke and Han and everybody else in Rogue Squadron, it makes what they did that much more heroic and necessary. That wasn't just one thing the Empire was doing. All the pieces of the Empire, even those people in the prison, were necessary to build this big ass gun.
Yeah.
And someone had to come along and break the gun apart.
And I've been watching it. There's another YouTuber I watch who's been breaking down this, absolutely loves the series, and has been highlighting just the brilliant way that the show has been addressing the issue of fascism and how fascism works and what fascism is, really, and that how well the series dovetails not only into Rogue One, but the original series. And we've got that, or the original film, where we've got that scene where Tarkin's saying, fear will keep the local systems in line. Fear of this battle station. Like, that's exactly what they're doing because of the reasons they lay it out. Like it's,
and also when you're in when you're in the upper society, like Mon Mothma, they're also showing that fear is for the lesser. The people who are high up, it's about comfort. And that's always been the thing about, it doesn't even matter if it's fascist or whatever it is. It's like, if you keep the 1%ers comfortable, then they won't stir the water. And that's what makes what she's doing that much more heroic. It's like her husband and all the other like diplomatic rich folk are able to sit back and just go da da da. And the Senate is like, no, what the Empire says is good because I'm still paid and everything is comfy cozy. And her sacrifice of like selling off her daughter. I mean, this show where it goes to sacrifice, it's all about what are you willing to give so that people survive or are able to overthrow the Empire. It's grim, and it makes her that much more heroic.
Well, I think things are going to get much worse for her. We've
seen the haircut she ends up with.
Yeah, well, also I mentioned it in the last show that the Mon Mothma that we see in Return of the Jedi she's damaged. You can kind of, and this is kind of retroactively looking at it, but that is kind of the way the character is portrayed. She's like, okay.
Well, now she's definitely. I mean, when you see the rebellion, obviously Leia continues to be. I mean, she's such a firebrand, and so she's got so much energy and life in her. But the old folks of the rebellion, and I don't know all their names, it's like Mon Mothma, I barely knew when I was a kid, and I'm like, okay. And then I love the fact that they found someone who looked so much like that actress, and she was good, and now she's got this great part. But anyway, the whole thing is, they are tentative generals, and they're like, we will take the stab. They're being very tentative about it, and it has to be this brave, heroic breakthrough, because I think even the rebellion, once they come together, they're so fragile that they seem almost afraid to do anything. And Mon Mothma's like, okay, well, we did get those plans, and a lot of Bothans died for them, so good luck on destroying the second Death Star. Oh, shit.
You know what's funny about that scene, too? I went and watched that after we were talking about it last time. I haven't watched Jedi in so long. And I remembered watching this movie with, I think it was Dwight and Paul, and Nathan might have been there. And
those were the days.
I remember them joking about the way that Mon Mothma is awkwardly staring at Admiral Akbar after he starts. And she really is. The whole time that Akbar is talking, she's kind of looking at him like,
why am I talking to a fish, man?
It's very strange.
Do you need something to clear out your throat? No, why do you ask? Everything is fine.
But what this makes me think, and I know they got to do season 2 of this first, but the thing that makes me excited about the character of Mon Mothma now is that she's the one character in this cast of characters that we know survives. And she's the one
Yeah,
not
she
only
makes it all
until
the way
Rogue
through.
One and Star Wars and Return of the Jedi, but through that period of time between Jedi and Force Awakens. She's
Yeah.
still there. And so they could continue. And I really want them to do this. I hope that they do this. I want to see the story where those Bothans die. I want them to follow the story of the rebellion through, to pick it up right after A New Hope, see how they escape Yavin 4 in the nick of time. And Luke and Han can be background characters who maybe show up in CG occasionally, but they're not main characters. And just follow Mon Mothma's character. Let her be keep her the centerpiece of the story.
That would be great.
Please do that. Yeah. And keep Tony Gilroy there, for love of God.
The thing is, they also, of course, we talked about this. I never really read the novels or anything. I did read, one of the ones I read was The Courtship of Princess Leia, because that's another important thing we never really see or never really saw, is because it's all happening in the background. Their flirtation and them becoming an actual couple, them becoming a married couple. It's like, we don't see any of that. And I know that, of course, that makes it hard because one actor is extremely old and the other one, unfortunately, is dead now. And so that would have to be a recasting or CG or something. But there are all kinds of little behind the scenes things. And I do know that the world at large that likes to mock any kind of fandom, they're like going, do you need to see every second that happened? Do you need to see every second? Do you need to see when Luke was like, you know what? Black looks good on me. It's like, yeah, I do.
Yeah. And if you've got a writer or a showrunner, I should say, as good as Tony Gilroy, looking over it.
I don't mind taking side routes because, in other words, like you're saying, there are characters, because it's such a wide universe, you can follow side characters like Mon Mothma or in the case of, sadly, we will lose Cassian Andor before we even get to the classic trilogy. But the thing is, you can follow those characters and we can see through hints and through other mentions what's going on all around. But there is a big story that goes beyond what the Skywalker clan was doing. The Skywalker clan, I would love to hear them spoken about. Like, I know we're not at that point, but I would love to see something that is set between classic trilogy and Force Awakens, where it's like, how does the legend grow? It's like, I mean, we do get that bit, and I know that no one really likes Rise of Skywalker, but just the idea that when Rey shows up on Tatooine, that someone goes, oh yeah, that's where he grew up. I'm like, I do like that. That, like, at this point, he's a legend. At this point, the story of Han, Leia, Luke, Obi-Wan, it is now the thing that gets carried down in oral tradition. I love it.
Yeah. That was one of my favorite. There were a lot of things I loved about Force Awakens, but that scene where they encounter Han and Chewie and the Falcon, and they're arguing over who Han is. Like, no, he was a war hero. No, he's a smuggler. and I think Finn turns to Chewie and goes, right? And Chewie goes, no. He just shrugs like, I don't care.
He's like, dude, whatever.
There were a lot of great moments like that. That was, and just like with the, to kind of sidetrack a little bit, you're talking about
how dare you,
J.J. Abrams, JJ's Star Trek. That was the reason why. And it was the strength of Force Awakens, that he was so good at chemistry, and that was the thing that we were desperately lacking at that time in the Star Wars films, was chemistry.
It's true.
And we got it in Force Awakens. That was the best thing about the film, was the chemistry of those
even the little bit that would spark, and it was small, between Obi-Wan and Anakin, or even less, Anakin and Padme, or Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. It was weirdly stilted. And I do blame the fact that George Lucas does not direct actors well. That's the only way that someone as good as Natalie Portman, and who can deny she's an amazing actor? She's just great. She comes off terribly in those movies, generally speaking, because I think she needs a director. She needed someone to say, hey, let's talk about this, instead of her just like going, do I just play this cardboard cutout princess. Okay, I'll do that if that's what you want, George.
Yeah, Sam Jackson too. He had a really awkward performance in those films, unfortunately.
Really, the person who comes off the best is Ian. What's his name?
Ewan.
No, not Ewan.
Yes, McDermott. Yeah,
that guy. He just knew. He knew from the drop how to do both. Palpatine and Sidious, and you're just like, oh, God damn, that guy's amazing.
Those seasoned actors, McDermott and Liam, of course. Liam Neeson does.
No, you can call him Liam because I know you guys are tight.
I was trying to remember. I was trying to make sure I got his name right. No, that was one of the best things about the very first film was his performance. He managed to bring it a weight and gravitas that the script really wasn't there in this way the story was written.
I'm a very weak defender of the prequels, but the only thing I will say is the story is fine. The story that George has come up with is very good.
Yeah.
He needed someone to tell him where he went wrong in the writing. He needed a Lawrence Kasdan, and he needed to hand off the directorial. I mean, if he wants to be visual director because he's got such the eye for it, and I still think I love the designs. People are like going, that doesn't look like Star Wars. I'm like, the whole thing is Star Wars is a huge motherfucking galaxy, and this is the pre-times. I love the Flash Gordon shiny ships and all the pretty Naboo and all that. I'm like, because it's different worlds. I'm all for it. Yeah. And we see that the Empire, and that's something that even comes up in Andor, because Gilroy's like tying together all these little bits. He has them go like, this stuff all looks like shit now that the Empire came around. Like he's had characters say so. Like I remember just 20 years ago, ships were nicer and cleaner.
Oh God! And this brings me to the thing one of the things I want to talk about was just how wonderful the set design and the way everything's done. It's with such respect, loving care to how the original films were.
Yep.
Not trying to update things. They didn't do like. And,
there's still flip switches and big buttons. Flip switches and big buttons.
It's still, they didn't really stray too far
tech. No.
From 1977. And that was so essential to get that right. And to be fair, with Star Trek Next Generation, that's 100 years in the future. So they were able to kind of play with that. And even when they do go back to the original ships, they still look the same. The original bridge.
They don't. I mean, that's the thing is like when you went to Enterprise and all, like, they did a lot of prequel things. You're going like, how does a proto ship that will end up being the Enterprise look so much more futuristic? Because they didn't downgrade the tech enough or make it look clunky as it should have.
Yeah. Well, there was, and I'm getting sidetracked here, but that episode where Scotty shows up, which is one of the best Next Generation throwback episodes, where he's been drinking on 10 forward. He has a bottle of brandy in his hands. He drunkenly goes up to the the holodeck console, and he's arguing with the computer. It's like, no, show me, NC 1701, no bloody B, C, or D. and he walks down, and it's the perfect recreation of the original bridge from the original series. Sound effects and everything, and Picard joins him in there, and they have a conversation. That was beautiful. And then there was also the throwback episode of Deep Space Nine where they went back themselves.
to Troubles. Yeah. That is great. Yeah. Along with the best throwaway Star Trek reference ever, which is like, those are Klingons?
Yeah. Yes, I love that.
Why do they look different? He goes, we do not speak of that to outsiders.
That was so great. That was so well done. But yeah, in Andor, I just love that, and I've had a lot of fun thinking about this, and the fact that
which says a lot about you.
That's why we're here, after all.
It is true.
There was clearly a lot of thought put into the set design with regards to that, and I've often thought about like, okay, you've got this massive galaxy that is thousands of years old, and how do you reconcile the fact that we've got hyperspace technology, but they're still carrying around tablets that are thicker than my laptop, to read. And they're have these huge binocular devices that, you know what I mean? And microphones that are way bigger than they need to be with current technology that we have. And this brings me to one of the things about Rebels that I thought was the goofiest idea, one of the goofiest ideas that Filoni has ever come up with. I'm trying to remember what they're called now. The Purgils, those hyperspace whales that play a big part in the finale of the series. Goofy idea on the surface of it, but they established that basically hyperspace technology was copied from these creatures. That's where humans, or where intelligent life in the galaxy acquired this technology, was by sort of, I guess, reverse engineering how these whales worked. And that kind of makes sense if you think about it. You take a technological society that's a little less advanced than we are, and all of a sudden you give them hyperspace tech.
Yeah, you jump it to that.
Then
everything else is still catching up.
Right, yeah.
But the hologram stuff they have works better than our stuff. People pop up on your desk and they're like going, "Help me, Brendan Jones. Oh, wait. No, sorry. I've thought of somebody else who could help me better."
But what seems
you gotta go.
This is the thing that a very nerdy person would say, like myself, that they don't have microchip technology. Their microchips got to a certain size, and then they just stopped. And because of the way the physics works in this galaxy, they were never able to get things down.
That does make sense. I love that idea. At the same time, I love that you thought about it, because here's the thing with me as a fan, I can really nitpick stuff, but it's almost always going to be more like story, character.
Yeah.
I like the universe. It's like, I just accept it. Like, that's how theirs works. It's like, okay, they can zoom through hyperspace, but they still have huge fucking call boxes. Darth Vader himself is a cyborg, but he has literally a calculator here. I think that all that Obi-Wan needed to do was punch a couple of those buttons and he'd be like, "You dick."
Yeah.
You don't play fair.
Right.
Your buttons are right there, buddy. I just shut you down. Your breathing regulators just beep, boop, boop. I just shut you down.
Not cool.
That's not cool. So there's all kinds of goofiness, but I tend not to overthink it, because I buy in. I buy in. But that is a smart way of doing it.
But to the extent that you want to at least give it that much respect and that much thought, that you don't try to apologize for the the short-sightedness of 1970s sci-fi.
The thing that caught me not off guard, but it was such a small detail that I had to, because of course Jerry's a huge Star Wars fan, and Andor he loved right off the bat. We were all little, because we watch these shows and we check in and like, Book of Boba Fett wasn't what I really wanted, but there was some good in it. Yeah, this had some good moments. But across the board, Andor was just amazing. So, but the thing that got me was not just that they captured the look, they made it even more real. The little detail that is in all of Andor, anytime they're on a ship or they're in the prison, in those walkways, the tubes, and they're looking out the windows are smudged with grease, handprints, breath, and that's the same in ships. And I'm like going, not even the original movies had that. Like, you would imagine that the Millennium Falcon had to have been pretty smeared. No one's taking a Windex to it. But there's that scene where Luthen, is that how you say his name?
Stellan's character?
Yeah.
Luthen, yeah.
Yeah, and he's showing up to make his deal with Andor, and he's just in that little shuttle, and that guy's like, "What brings you here?" And he's like, "Oh, well, I'm a salesman or doing a thing," and he's just looking out. And not only is that some of the best, like, that's probably what it looks like when you're in a shuttle about to land in a place, just like the land going underneath. I'm like, that just looks seamless and like that's real. But also what made it even more real was smudgy window, like if you were in a bus, like a Greyhound bus, and that smudgy window, I was like going, God bless you, sir.
Yes. Yeah, and there were so many touches, and I didn't even notice the smudginess. That's beautiful.
And it's in most of the places that aren't the high end. Anytime in that show they're in a bar or a thing like that, or they're on Ferrix, the windows of all the places, you're like going, that's what real windows look like. Yeah. And they're not like set director just put up a piece of plastic. It's like, no, that's a smudgy glass window. I love it. Yeah.
And there was that scene too, which I think you were referring to earlier, where it's at the flashback scene in the final episode where Andor's remembering his adoptive father, and you see the scene. He's washing this old equipment, kind of similar to the bath that C-3PO is in.
Yeah,
in the original film. Like we got to keep this old stuff working because
Oh yeah,
that's all we got. It's and that informs the original trilogy as well. It's all this beautiful.
The thing is, my only problem with Andor, it's not even a problem with Andor. It was a fear with Andor, but I'm okay with it. But the idea that making this so gripping, so amazing, but it's Andor's story, and I'm like, does this take away from because we had this talk where it's like, because Luke's hero's journey is essentially 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's where you're like going, he saved everybody, but he goes from being a farmer to a fledgling Jedi who blows up the Death Star in like 2 weeks. I'm like, does this mean Andor's a more heroic character because of all the struggles he went through and the way his character gets morphed and changed and all the sacrifices he made? I mean, Luke lost his aunt and uncle and his mentor, but his mentor keeps showing up in his head. So he didn't even lose Obi-Wan. Hey, buddy,
Right.
Could give me a few minutes because I'm on the crapper. Hey, I love you. But could you give me a sec?
Yeah, thanks. I'm not going to use the Force right now. Just give me
trust your feelings. Look, it'll come on its own, buddy. Don't need any help, any coaching.
Luke, trust me, man.
But anyway, it's all valid. It's all happening in the same universe, and Luke's story is the fairy tale that it should be. It's the rollicking adventure, and rollicking adventure was happening at the same time really gritty shit was happening down on Ferrix, and with the Saw Gerrera's killing people left and right. The rebellion's coming up on its own. Jerry's sitting there going, season 2 has to be about all those factions of the rebellion coming together finally. I'm like, yeah, I'm sure it will. Because we're also sitting there going, where's redheaded lady from, Solo? Where's her faction? And Saw Gerrera's faction? And all these, the rebellion needs to coalesce because right now they are scattered.
Yeah. And there were some of the big fans who remember what happened in Rebels. There's a scene in Rebels which I've heard before. I need to go back and rewatch that last season.
I don't think I got past season 1 of Rebels.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
I liked Rebels. I just didn't like it as much as Clone Wars was amazing.
It is really good. It does have moments where it goes way too far. Filoni can be very indulgent with fan service sometimes and goofiness, but there's a couple of turns they take where you're like, oh, you, God damn it, you did it. They do some very silly stuff sometimes, but I give them a pass because sometimes I'm not going to spoil it for you. There's one scene where there's somebody sings, and it's absolutely hilarious, and it's the type of thing that normally wouldn't work.
B. Arthur, right? They don't try to,
but it is almost that silly. And I know that they did it because they knew it was going to piss people off, but they did it anyway. And then the moment's over, like it just kind of disappears. Anyway, but he does stuff like that sometimes. But oh shit, where was I going with that?
I don't know.
Sidetracked.
We were talking about the rebellion coming together, and you said there was a scene, and
there's a scene in that final season, I think, where Mon Mothma. There's a message from Mon Mothma that's delivered through hologram, I think, to everybody. So people are saying, "Oh, are they going to show her doing that, giving that speech? In live action?
Wow, that'd be cool.
Maybe get towards the end or maybe it could be the beginning of season 2. I mean, season 2 could pick up where Rebels stops. Depends on where exactly they're going with that. But
even though I think it's nice that they're letting him have his own little chunk of the Star Wars universe. I'm meaning Gilroy, but it'd be really nice if they're still, like Filoni's like going. That would be like him going, "Hey, what we could work in."
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm doing my own things. Like, but it's right there. It's right there. You could totally just slip it in.
I can imagine being in Tony Gilroy's office and it's like, Dave Filoni's on the phone?
I'm at lunch. So tell him that, lost a kidney. Tell him I lost a kidney. No, I would assume there's probably a very friendly relationship because if there's two people that are crazy for the same thing, it's those dudes.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason that anyone ends up being a showrunner for a Disney Plus Star Wars show, it is not because they're just capable. They're also fans. just like with Marvel, they tend to get people in that are genuine fans and good filmmakers.
Well, apparently, unlike Filoni and Favreau, Gilroy was not as big of a fan of Star Wars as they were. Yeah. But that, I think, has worked in his favor because he is still, as we've been talking about, still incredibly respectful of the universe and the world that the stories take place in. But he just doesn't feel beholden to tell the story in the same way.
It doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like he is beholden. It doesn't feel like he's necessarily a fanboy. But he's just, I guess, that solid a storyteller where he's like, these themes of people rising up against a fascist dictatorship I can speak to, and it'll all work. It'll make sense. And it does. And I see people online with the Easter eggy things like Rogue One, here's Andor's coat, and he's got this little book attached. They're like going, is that the that kid's manifesto from the series? Does he have that attached to his coat? And I'm like, oh, that'd be cool if that's what that is.
Yeah.
But people are looking at Rogue One like going, oh, is it setting up things for Rogue One? I'm like, I don't know if you get to know Cassian that well in Rogue One, except for he's a good guy who gets a kiss on the beach right before he dies. Not a bad way to go, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Anyway, I loved it. Should we talk about Black Panther?
Yeah. I want. There's one thing I wanted to mention about Andor before we move on.
Shit! Here we go.
Here we go. This is the nerdiest thing I'm going to say, but this is the fun. This is fun shit.
Yeah.
I don't really think they're going to do this, but they've been doing a lot of teasing, which I think is very intentional teasing to fans such as myself. That Luthen's character, there's been a lot of speculation online that he is either a Jedi who's in hiding or closely associated with the Jedi Order.
I think I saw that too.
Because of there's some pretty obvious little hints they've been giving, which are maybe a little too on the nose if it's true. But he has that that walking stick thing that he carries that looks like a lightsaber hilt. And in the first episode, you see him. It's a walking stick and it retracts like a lightsaber. He goes into it. And then there's that scene in that last episode, I think, the last time we see him with Saw Gerrera, and the guy's doing a security check on him. He takes the handle, he looks at it, and he goes, "Leave it alone or put it down." Or like, stop messing with that thing. And it looks like a lightsaber. It's not, but that's weird. And then there's a lot of little things like Val, I forget her name, Val or Vel. Andor at one point asks her when he's beginning the mission with her, and he goes, they're talking about Luthen, and he goes, "Who is he?" And she says, "He is something we will never discuss." Not someone, yeah, that's but something.
Right. Oh.
And then there's also that scene where he's talking with his assistant, Clea, which is very strangely similar to Leia. And he says, I've been hiding too long. I'm not slipping. I'm just, she's accusing him of kind of losing his focus. I've been hiding too long. And then in that speech we were talking about earlier, there's a lot of little things he says that kind of seem to be very, subtle references to the Jedi way.
I thought this series would avoid Jedi altogether.
Right. But that's why I kind of don't want them to do that. But the hints are almost maddening. Like, I share my dreams with ghosts.
Yeah,
because all the Jedis are dead. Stuff like that. Because he talks about, I am condemned to use the tools of my enemy, the dark side. He's had to go to the dark side to achieve what he's achieving.
As a fan theory, I'm loving it.
I don't know.
Jury's out till season 2.
Also, and I wouldn't have known this except for
I think they should mention Jedi. I know that they're going so far out of the way, but it's like you'd expect someone just to go like, what I wouldn't give for a whole bunch of Jedi to come in and take care of these people. Like, the Jedi are gone. They haven't said Jedi at all in Andor. It's
or
like,
the Force or any of that stuff. Yeah,
I figured the Force wouldn't get mentioned, but come on.
But I wouldn't have known this, but in his little curio shop, the antique shop that he runs, a lot of the stuff in the background, there's a lot of Jedi Jedi artifacts and stuff that he has. Like,
how do you know Jedi artifacts? How does anyone know Jedi artifacts?
From people are nerds, Brennan. It's a thing.
People are nerds.
There's like a
when
Jedi.
You are nerdy.
I'm not gonna go into what they are.
I have
he has a lot of
stuff
Jedi
in the
stuff
background. It's like this old armor-ish kind of stuff, but it didn't scream Jedi to me. Not that I would have known. But
they're what we call Easter eggs.
At one point, didn't he mention Kyber something?
Yes, that was the other thing. Thank you. That was one of the very first clues. The fact that he has a Kyber crystal, and nobody ever says, "Oh, you know the stuff they make lightsabers from," but they clearly know what it is. They're like, "You've got a Kyber crystal? What the hell?"
Is that what he gave Andor? Was a Kyber crystal?
Yeah.
Okay, because I remember a Kyber crystal being mentioned. And they just must be worth a lot of money, whether or not you're a Jedi. Because
it's very rare.
Oh, shit, man, I could sell that for... Yeah.
And he also says, like, this is worth 30,000 credits at least, but it's worth more to me than you will ever understand. That's another thing to throw in there.
That sounds like it's such a giveaway.
Yeah. So I'm kind of thinking he's probably not a Jedi, but
But he plays one on TV.
Yeah, he was probably closely associated with him in some way, but exactly how, I don't know. But we'll see.
Maybe he's. Wasn't there a term for what the samurai guy was, where they're like, he is this, which is
he was a
would-be
guardian
samurai.
of the wills, I think.
Oh, okay. A would-be Jedi who's not actually a Jedi.
Yeah. I don't know. If they do whatever it is, I have a feeling they're not going to reveal it until like right at the end of the season or right before his character dies.
One thing that pulls focus. This is not supposed to be a Jedi story, right. And like you said, I would prefer it not to be one,
right? Because
Star Wars does not. That's one thing that is true, is that it does not need to always be one.
Yeah,
I like the idea that Jedis and the Jedi way is still something pretty unique and small. And if every adventure I ever see in that universe is someone discovering they're a Jedi, becoming a Jedi, then I'm like, well, then what's so unique?
Enough. Yeah, right. Of that, right.
It's like sometimes I want Supergirl and Krypto to be gone because Kal-El should be the only Kryptonian. Oh, snap. I'm going to get some blowback from that. I know people. Yep. No, I'm joking. I love Supergirl and Krypto. But Last Son of Krypton should have some weight to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know.
The fact that Jor-El is back in the comics and he's a dick. Did you know that? They brought Jor-El back?
No, I know that there was a Superman 78 thing where he's...
Well, yeah, there's that. That's not canonical, but in canon, Jor-El comes back. This is after John Kent, the son, is growing up, and Jor-El shows up like, I got whisked out of Krypton right before it blew up. I was in the Phantom Zone. Hey, how's it going, kid? Hey, good to see my son. Is this my grandson? I'm going to take him on a trip in the universe, and I'll teach him what it means to be a real Kryptonian, not like you dick. And Jor-El ends up being this asshole, not older guy, but he's the one who takes John into space, and when he brings him back, he's aged up. That was their way to age him up, so that John Kent goes from being like 8 in the comics, and he comes back and he's like 15. He's like, hey, I'm now a teenage superhero and I'm bi. And they're like, great. Well, we missed a lot of your life. That was awesome. Thanks, Grandpa. Space is weird. Time is weird out there. Thanks for having me. Bye. I think that was the end of Jor-El in the comics, is him saying, thanks for having me. Bye. But I didn't like the idea of him still existing and being a dick.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah. Like I was saying, that's the quibble I've had with Superman and Superman and Lois. There's and in Smallville too. There's just way too many Kryptonians showing up.
Yeah.
It's just stop it. Supergirl did that too. The Supergirl series.
They made Mon-El Kryptonian, didn't they? Or did they leave him Daxamite?
I stopped watching that show after a while. I got really frustrated. I really liked it in the beginning. I really did, but
I couldn't. I watched the first episode and said, no, thank you, ma'am.
Oh, yeah.
It was too much of, look, I think the actress is great. And I think that I like how they made her a very optimistic, wide-eyed, good person hero. But doesn't she deserve to have her own story instead of them basically grafting Clark Kent's story onto her? They put her in glasses. They make her work as a reporter. And I'm like, wait, that's not her story. She should have her own life. And then they bring in Jimmy Olsen and he's like, call me James. And I'm like, oh, okay. All
yeah,
right.
that's like we're just basically going to make him a completely different character from who he is in the
seems
comics.
like even though it's not as gritty as Snyder, but it seems like the mandate when they were doing Superman projects, especially around that time with Man of Steel and Supergirl, the TV show, was this cannot be your daddy's Superman. So whatever it takes, flip those characters, make them fresh. So it's like, yeah, Pa Kent is Kevin Costner and he has the worst ideas in the world. And that, because that's not your daddy Superman. And here's Supergirl. She has her own life. She's a college student. She ends up being, well, what did she end up being? Well, that's telling that I can't remember what her actual secret identity was for a long time.
In the comics?
But she was not a, glasses reporter like her cousin. She had her own life. It's like, just do something else, but don't be like, we're Jimmy Olsen, skinny nerd with a bow tie.
Mm-hmm.
Look at this fine hunk of man. That is James Olsen.
Who began, and this is the thing. This is where I started losing interest in the show.
They turned him into Guardian, didn't they?
Yeah, it's like, I want to be a superhero too. It's not fair. I can't have powers. Hey, make me a suit.
I did not know that you were this good of a mimic. Holy shit. You never told me you had an impression of that actor down like that. I want to be a superhero too.
That was basically the sentiment of it. It was just so annoying. It's like, dude, it's Jimmy Olsen. He's a passionate photojournalist. He loves what he does.
And the fact that Guardian has his own history, and the Guardian was not a character that came along because everyone's being a superhero now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, give them a reason for becoming this or that. They screw with everybody. You watch a Flash and you're like, that's not Vibe. I know Vibe. That's not Killer Frost. I know Killer Frost. Anyway, so let's talk about a very good movie that made me very sad.
Okay.
Oh, and let's also talk about... No, it's a joke. Wakanda Forever was amazing. It pulled off an amazing feat, which is how do you move past the death of an iconic actor? I do believe that roles can be recast, but I also understand them doing this because the loss of that young man, incredibly talented, who was so perfect for that role, I think they kind of made the right decision, even though a lot of people going, no, give us T'Challa back. It's like, let T'Challa be the sacrificial lamb, unfortunately.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. We can talk about Namor too. That was another separate issue there. But I did feel like the thing about the film that bothered me, it wasn't really so much that they didn't recast him. It was that they chose to give the lead role to Shuri, and it just felt weird to me. As good of, and I think she's a fine actress, but she's a nerd who is at home in the lab being nerdy. And they gave her a lot. They put a lot on her shoulders in this film, and the film felt empty to me. It just didn't really feel like that center wasn't there for me.
It's kind of true, but the whole point of the movie was addressing that the center had fallen out, and what rises up to provide the support. And I thought strengthening all the characters, the only good thing, and there's nothing that comes out of losing Chadwick Boseman. There's nothing good.
Right.
But the only good thing story-wise is you are allowed that all these great secondary characters, his surrounding characters were great in Black Panther. They're always great. Angela Bassett, amazing. Winston Duke, incredible. Amazing as M'Baku.
Yeah.
I can't pronounce her name, but Okoye. All of them are amazing. Mm-hmm. And what you do is you allow them... Now they have a showcase, and you allow them to deal with their grief. You allow them to get stronger. And I do understand that is a big jump. I even said that to John. It's like, Shuri makes perfect sense keeping it in the family. And it also, Shuri has been Black Panther in the comics. So I'm like, this isn't a weird idea. But the way she was portrayed, she was a lighthearted nerd. She was the kid's sister with the big brain. I think opening it with the grief, opening it with the funeral ceremony, you're basically watching her transform through the whole thing. She is not who she used to be. She is angry at the loss instead of being wounded by it. She's angry, which is why she sees her cousin, why she sees Killmonger in the ancestral plane and not her brother or father or her mother. So it's because of the anger. And that actually makes her own character, her own Black Panther. She's dealing with that. So I do think, and it doesn't sound like it was successful for you, which is totally legit. For me, it did work.
I'm on the fence. Yeah. I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah. And I think she ends up being an amazing heroine who is troubled. And that is interesting because T'Challa was almost perfect, other than the fact that he couldn't commit to his love because he was like, well, I'm a prince and now I'm a king. And you're like, dude, just relax. And now we've got, of course, his son.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
T'Challa Jr.
Oh, man. T'Challa Jr. Toussaint. I loved all that. So for me, that worked very well. And also, of course, the very able script construction of creating a mirror kingdom. That was what was brilliant about the way they introduced Atlantis or Talokan or whatever it's called.
Talokan, yeah.
And I thought they handled that well. I'm such a nitpicky guy. This is what I said to John. John was actually surprised because we saw that together. We went to Jerry, me, John. I'm the nitpicky guy who's like, well, in the comics.
Yeah.
I didn't really have any notes. I didn't get Atlantis. I got Talokan. I got Namor, but I got Namor with a bone through his nose. I mean, literally, there are all these little changes. Every one of them fit.
Yeah.
Marvel makes such good choices. When they change stuff, they change it intelligently.
Yeah.
Not arbitrarily.
Yeah. And I think the reason why it worked is that even though they changed the setting or the names and stuff with Namor's origin and his world, he's still pretty much the same character.
He's the character. And
he's
there were
dangerous. He's ruthless,
and he's smart.
Yeah.
The whole thing at the end, I know that there were, I just like John rails against this, and it's true. Toxic fandom. I like to think we're not that. Me and you are diehard older fans. No, I think so. But we don't sit there going like, fuck you. If we don't like it, we just don't like it. It's like, okay, well, that was a missed opportunity in my opinion. It's like, oh, that's my opinion.
Sure.
But toxic fandom where they're like going, I can't believe they introduced Namor, one of the most powerful, and they have him get defeated by a little girl. And I'm like going, fuck you, people.
That was one of the best scenes in the movie, was that fight. I love
that fight was amazing. And then him, like, okay, I accept your terms and backing off. That would have been like, oh, well, of course she has to win. It's Black Panther's movie. And also that would have been true in the comics too, by the way. If there's ever like a hero versus hero in the comics, whoever comics it is, they're the one who wins. Daredevil has beaten the Hulk team in the comics because it was an issue of Daredevil, and Daredevil figured out some way to beat the Hulk. So don't come whining at me about these things, but they make up for it. Coogler has that great scene where he's healing. It's at the end of the movie. He's got the bandage around his ankle because the wing is growing back, and Namor comes in and is like, I'm really disappointed in you, dude. You totally bowed to her. And he's like going, don't you get it? And then he lays out his fourth dimensional chess idea. And you're like, that's Namor. He's brilliant. And he's always thinking about what benefits my people. What benefits my people is when the world comes after them, they still don't know about us. But when the world comes after them, they have nobody to turn to but us.
Yeah.
And no one can come at Wakanda and Talokan and win. And it's like, you are fucking Namor. I can't wait for you to meet Susan Storm and get all kinds of inappropriate with her. Boom. They gave me green shorts and the scene of him flying around and taking out ships and stuff.
I love that.
Fuck yeah.
I love
Namor's that. Like, I had to explain to people, I'm like, you guys don't understand. You might be like, oh, that's Marvel's Aquaman. I'm like, that is the first Marvel superhero. Marvel Comics #1, 1939. Namor the Submariner, and the Human Torch, the android one. They're the first Marvel superheroes before Captain America and all that. So you give Namor the proper respect, god damn it,
That's
is what
right.
I said. Then I kicked some shit over. I was asked to leave. Regal Cinemas now has banned me. Well, also I had brought in like a full pizza, and they were like, "You can't do that." I'm like, "Oh, it's my laptop."
And this goes into the nitpicky category.
I'm ready.
But I love the first scene. We kind of see him where he's in the dark, and his people are attacking on the ship and so forth.
Yeah.
You just barely see him. I love that. And then I thought they would wait a little longer before they actually reveal him. And then in the next scene, he just kind of shows up. Hey, it's a nice place you got here.
Yeah, I love that he's. They're having this very, tense mother-daughter moment at the river, and he just sort of like pokes up and is like, "Hey, you guys, are you making s'mores?" I thought that was a weird thing because, I mean, I get that you can get hungry, swimming that fast, but then asking these women he's never met if they're making s'mores.
Yeah.
No, I just thought it all worked very well. Angela Bassett, that was the one that shocked me because I was like, they're not going there, are they, in this movie? Because we're already dealing with so much loss. Yeah. And then we lose her too.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, by the way, for anyone who hasn't seen Wakanda Forever.
By the way. Yeah.
But it was well done, well handled.
And I wish, and that there were so many problems with Rise of Skywalker, but this was one of the things that made that film really awkward, is that they were faced with the same conundrum with a major actor dying who had a major role, supposed to have a major role in the last film. How do we handle this? We can recast, or we can kill our character off before the movie starts. Or they came up with a third option, which I think was not the way to go.
Use some discarded scenes and also have a CG version of her fly through space.
Yeah. But,
using the Force.
Oh, well, that was in Last Jedi.
Oh, was that in Last Jedi?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
See, that they could have killed her there.
They could have, actually.
They could have just not had her survive that incident, but that's okay.
They knew that fans would be like, we can't lose Luke and Leia, bing, bang, boom, like
and
that.
Akbar, all in one. Oh. That was one of the things that Ryan did that pissed me off. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, Akbar's dead. Anyway, like, wait, what?
Look, it was a trap. Okay, it was a trap.
I think that they should have done, I mean, like I said, the movie still would have been horrible if this is the only thing they did differently, but they should have had Leia be killed off screen beforehand and not done what they did, because it was just so distracting. It was a weird Frankensteinian thing that this person on screen you knew wasn't there, was not interacting with the actors at all. It was, I don't know. It was just very strange. It
was strange. I don't envy anyone having to deal with that. At least Coogler was going into, I mean, he did have it already written pre Chadwick Boseman's death and had to rewrite, but still, that was still pre-production. So he still was able to, and I thought it handled all of that very well. And good Lord, was there emotion in the theater. Literally from the opening, which is just the Marvel logo with no music, and you're just seeing all the Chadwick Boseman footage in the letters like they normally do. There was a woman in the theater, I just heard her just go,
yeah.
And it's like they were instantly crying. And so it was hardcore. And they hit every emotional moment of it, I thought, really well. Coogler is such a good director, man.
Mm-hmm.
So you didn't enjoy it as much as I did, sounds like.
No, I like it. I just it just felt a little, it felt empty. And maybe this was unavoidable. It felt empty at times to me. And I
think there's a little bit of that. I thought Ironheart was a fine introduction, but I do think she didn't get enough. If you're introducing a character, that was like, it was like Black Widow in Iron Man 2.
Sure.
It's like she's in there.
Her. Yeah. I enjoyed that.
I enjoyed her, but I was like,
I know we're getting more of her, so it's like,
we just don't get a lot of her here, right. But she's got her own little thing coming up, and she'll be in Armor Wars, and she'll be probably in Young Avengers when they get around to doing that.
Yeah.
Kate Bishop and her and Ms. Marvel, and I can't wait.
I kind of like that they didn't mention Tony Stark at all in reference to her. Which looks like they have a different origin and from the comics, right? She's not associated.
She's still inspired by him, you can tell, because Shuri does like look at her blueprints and goes, "Is this Stark tech?"
Oh,
That was
okay.
the
I
only
missed
mention.
it.
She goes, "Is it
Okay.
Star Trek?" She goes, "No, that's me."
Yeah. Okay.
But clearly, she has made an arc reactor on her own at 18.
Yeah.
Riri Williams. That's why I'm saying they didn't get into her enough. We don't really know what her origin is, other than she's just a brilliant college student.
Yeah.
I would have liked them to show her at like 8, looking at Iron Man on TV and going like, "Yeah, man, I could do that." Da da da.
Yeah.
But still, she's a great character. They'll get there. It was awesome to have her in it, and I did like the whole like, ladies are doing it for themselves. You've got Okoye up there in her Midnight Angel armor, and you've got Ironheart in her armor, and you've got Black Panther versus all those blue people. All those blue people. One of my favorite death scenes in cinema history is in that movie where the Atlanteans, the Teleconians, show up on that bridge. First time they've made their public appearance, and they're coming after him. And they start walking towards that cop, and you hear a cop go, "Hey, is she blue?" And then he gets killed.
Yeah.
I mean, they instantly kill those police officers. I just love that someone's last words on this earth are, "Hey, is she blue?"
There was another funny line too with after Namor's first scene with Shuri and her mom. I forget her mom's name.
Ramon
Angela Bassett's character. Yeah.
Ramona?
Yeah. Ramona. Anyway, after he leaves, she goes, "Did you see the wings on his ankles?"
Yeah.
In case you missed it, folks. You know.
Yes.
Those really are wings on his ankles.
The whole idea.
It was a strange line.
Yeah, of course, the mutants thing. I'm like, yeah, bring that in. They're talking mutants. And he's much older. I mean, the idea that he has been around since the 17th century, apparently, I'm like, fuck yeah. I love that. That means he's done a really good job of keeping Telecon under wraps. No one knows about that shit. But also them tying him into, Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, and like, yeah, of course, he would have become this legendary figure. And I'm like, yeah, that makes the wings on the ankles actually kind of work.
Yeah.
I thought they would. I thought literally years ago when like if they ever do a Namor movie, I was like, they'll get rid of the wings on the ankles. They'll just have them fly. They're not going to do that. And here they gave us wings on ankles unabashedly. They're like, no, look at him flying around. Guess how he's flying.
Yeah. That is a perfect example of like what you say about why Kevin Feige and his team and all these guys are so great at this, that they work in the classic stuff in a way that still works.
Again, they kept, as you said, they kept it so true to the character that all of that, and it does. I don't want to speak to how accurate they were because I can't know my ancient Mayan culture or whatever, but the idea that they just said, no, we're just transposing it. And what you thought of as Atlantis is just a sunken city in South America. It's like, this is a whole other culture. And it still is Marvel Comics Atlantis. You still have Atuma. He's still blue. You have Namora. She's still blue. They are still swimming around underwater with gills. I'm like, that's what I want. When they come up on land, they'll have little water masks on. That happens in Marvel Comics. I love it. Except for him, he's the guy who can live on either, and he was the first of their kind. Love this shit.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was clapping. I love Namor.
Yeah.
No one ever called him a Submariner. I was a little disappointed that because I always.
I bet you that's coming though. Yes. I bet you it's coming. Somebody's going to say it.
They're like, well, we've codenamed him Submariner.
Yeah, right.
The Submariner. When my brother used to call him.
Right.
But when I look for Easter eggs, as every nerd does, and Lake Bell, the actress Lake Bell, she's at the beginning of the movie. She is the lady scientist who finds the vibranium.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That they come after her. She has the underwater, device. So she's a scientist lady. And she's a good actor. And she's been in things. I'm like, well, she'll have to be an important character. And then they just kill her in a helicopter. I was like, what? For half a second, I was like, ooh, because my brain goes there. Submariner, Namor had a human surface-dwelling romantic interest, like in the 40s, right off the bat. And she was a female cop. And her name was like Betty something or other. I can't remember her full name. I was like, oh, please let this be her. Like, maybe she survived. Maybe he's like, I trust you. I don't trust anybody else. It's like, oh, give me that. And then I realized I'm the only person in these United States who is thinking that. Looking at Lake Bell going, maybe she's playing that character from the 1940s. And then again, they said, sir, we'll refund the cost of your ticket, but you must leave.
Unfortunately, I hope they can work this out, but I saw something that the intellectual property of Namor has the same red tape that Hulk has. I don't know if it's the same companies that own the rights, but they can't legally right now make a standalone Namor film.
I thought it was because Namor was included in the Fantastic Four bundle of rights that Fox had.
Yeah, that must not be it, because obviously they own Fox now. So I don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah, I don't know. But I did hear that. It's like, that's why they can't have a solo Namor film.
Yeah.
I think they can. They just can't call it that. It's always just about the title. They could have had a Hulk movie, but they had to have called it like Gamma Rage.
Right.
And in the movie, he can be called the Hulk. The movie just cannot be called the Hulk.
Right.
I think that's what the rights are.
Is that what it is? Yeah. So I mean, they worked out. I mean, the fact that what they did with Spider-Man is amazing. If they managed to negotiate
like a partnership,
they can. Hopefully, they can figure something out.
That happened. Anything can happen.
Yeah, I don't know. Did you remember that whole thing where they said, "Oh no, now the deal's falling apart. There's not going to be another Spider-Man movie," and
I was worried.
That went on for months, and then they finally came back and said, "Oh no, everything's fine."
I don't. I know this is not going to cast me in a very good light, but it seriously depressed me, and I was scared.
Yeah.
I felt the need to reach out and like get a hug from people. Again, on public transportation, which was a mistake.
Can you read my mind?
Surely you've heard now about the Spider-Man news. Will you hold me? My stop isn't for another couple of blocks. Hold me. But it did all work out, and we're all very lucky because, come on, how great was No Way Home?
And now we got Daredevil coming, and please.
And they announced that what's his name, who played Foggy, and Deborah Ann Wall, who played Karen, are also going to be back.
Okay. Yeah. I know there's some certainty whether Karen Page was coming back.
They got them back. They've, of course, Vincent D'Onofrio is there. Right. And they've announced 2 new women cast members. They haven't said what characters they are. So it could be that they're, I don't know. Actually, if they're doing Born Again, the storyline from the comics, which it won't be, but it'll be some version.
Yeah, they already kind of did that on Netflix a little bit.
Yeah, they already had Nuke.
Yeah.
Give me a red, give me a white.
That's the big question is like, well, how much of that Daredevil is this? Is it?
Well, I have a feeling it will be the storyline of exactly Wilson Fisk exposes his identity and drags him down as a revenge, and sends him on a spiral. And then, but I also hear it's not going to be as dark because it's like, this isn't Netflix's Daredevil. So I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, either way, I'm happy these same people are back because Daredevil was a shining star of the Netflix run. So
I'm a little bit concerned just because I didn't really like what they did with Kingpin in the Hawkeye show. He was just a little clownish from what he was before.
I mean, the whole thing of even though they did have him have his intimidation scenes in the white suit, and the ascot. I mean, they literally gave him his cane with the diamond. They gave him all of that for those scenes. But when he's like tearing up the place and throwing Hawkeye around, I'm like, it's hard to take him seriously in a big Hawaiian shirt, Yeah,
exactly.
But I did love that it was that physical because I do love them emphasizing like, you realize that Wilson Fisk, even though he's this enormous fat guy, it's like he's a man mountain that can literally pick someone up and throw them through a wall. Yeah. So it was kind of cool that they're giving you a little bit of both. It's like, yeah, it is the same actor who can bring the same intensity, but we're also leaning towards the comic. Like, yeah, he's going to actually be punching people. In addition to just sitting there going, I'm going to take him down. I'm going to make sure he doesn't. So we'll see. And if they bring back Mike Coulter as Iron Fist, as Power Man, as Luke Cage, I'm there. And of course, I mean, I thought Jessica Jones. Come on, all those people were well cast.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really hope they do this. I know there's talk, although never bring Spider-Man. Tom Holland will never be on Disney Plus, but that character is in such a perfect place now to interact with Daredevil.
I know.
Nobody know. He doesn't have any friends. He's just living on his own in New York. It would be so great to have it be run through one of the seasons. Like he keeps seeing this person watching him or something. Is that who I think it is? And they of course wind up working together. That please go there. It would be so awesome.
The thing I always loved in the comics was like when they first were meeting, it was always, how'd you know who? It's like your heartbeat. It's like Daredevil just knew. It's like, how do you know? It's like, no, he's literally picking him out of the crowd going, that extremely accelerated. That's not a human. Oh, wait a minute. And then the whole gag about, hey man, do you know that your costume is yellow and red? It's goofy looking.
And what? Yeah. What I would
blind? No one puts a suit together like that.
What I'm curious to see how if they do bring. I'm sure they're going to meet. The characters are going to meet at some point, and the whole thing with Doctor Strange having erased, right? But I mean, going forward.
Yeah.
I mean, going forward because he's already he served as his lawyer.
Yes.
But that after the spell that's cast at the end of that movie. Does Matt Murdock remember that case, or does he just not remember who is this? How is that? There's a lot of haziness there.
Forget Peter Parker.
They didn't forget Spider-Man, but they just forgot his.
Then I guess he wouldn't remember that case at all.
Yeah,
Peter remembers. Weird. That is weird.
So they have to, if they do meet, and if that situation has been resolved.
The only problem with No Way Home's ending is that, just like with the snap and the blip and all that, every writer after has to sit there and literally figure this out. Like, wait,
yeah,
oh shit, this is be like their first meeting, but oh shit, I had so many good ideas for. Oh,
God damn it, Sam Raimi. Okay.
No, because No Way Home wasn't him.
It wasn't.
No, wait. Sam Raimi was Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm getting those two mixed up. Yeah, you're right.
Stop getting them mixed up. I've told you this before.
Who was the guy who directed? He did all three of those Spider-Man films, right?
Good guy, Mr. Man.
Hold
on. I have it right here actually.
There were rumors that he was going to do Fantastic Four next. Although I don't know if that's still.
Why does it have to be so dark, and why are my eyes so bad now? I hate being an old dude. I literally can't read that. God, I hate it. But it was great. I enjoyed it. That's why I own it.
I think we should wrap this up.
We should wrap this up because you know what? I'm hungry now. And you've talked to me all the way into lunchy time. Take care of yourself. Don't get COVID.
All right. Well, don't go anywhere yet. We're going to stop it.
God damn it.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next week. Okay, bye.
Yeah.